Hey guys, welcome back to part C of the 2016 number 4. So this one was a bit tricky, but that's okay. We're going to work through it together. I'm going to use example 2 now. We have green, eggs, and ham. The total number of letters is 15. The number of gaps in between would be 1, 2, 3 of them. Basically one less than the amount of words, since there are 4 words. And then we have a basic gap width, which is 1. So we should probably come down here. And then we have leftover spaces. In other words, it wasn't able to give 2 to each one. So the gap width is 1. And then after that, there was 2 left over. So it gave it to the first person, and then it gave it to the second person. So that's all that there. Now here it says in part A, or before part A begins, it says when the formatted string is constructed, spaces are placed in the gaps between words so that as many spaces as possible are evenly distributed to each gap. So it says write the string formatter method format. It returns the formatted string as defined earlier. So formatted string, it needs to look like this. So we need it to return. Obviously, it's not going to return these lines here. Okay, so that's not going to work. So all we need to do is just get it to basically look like this here without the lines. So let's see how we're going to do that. Okay, I'm going to take you to the example and I'm going to work this out for you. So this is their answer key, and let's see how it just works. Okay, first they are initializing the word format or formatted to be a string. Second, they took basic gap width and leftover space, and they didn't want to keep writing it, so they knew that both of these returned an integer, so they called it int gap width, int leftovers. Using this example down here, green, eggs, and ham, I decided just to rewrite 15, 3, 1, and 2, the total gaps, the basic gap width, which is basically called the gap width in this case, and leftovers, which is called leftovers. Okay, so let's see what's happening here. This for loop says go until w is less than word list.size minus 1. So word list.size, there's 4 words. So this actually wants you to go to 3. So what's happening here is you're only going to look at 0, 1, and 2 before it kicks out. Okay? So it says formatted equals formatted plus word list.get, in this case 0. Well, when you do that, it's going to take green, okay? So green is the first word in the list. And now green is a string, okay? Because formatted is a string, and also word list is a string. And let's change gap width. Gap width in this case is right here. It's 1, so I'm just going to put a 1 there. Leftovers is actually 2, so I'm just going to cross that off. So we have green. So it says as long as I is equal to 0, I is less than gap width, I plus plus. So this works. It says make formatted equal to formatted plus a space. So I'm going to write a space here. Now, if you notice this, guys, this guy right here, if you really look at it, there's a space between the quotations, where over here, there's actually no space. They were just initializing it. So that's actually a space. Now, remember in this problem here, after green, there wasn't only 1 space, there was an extra space. Okay, so there was 2 there were 2 here, but there was only 1 here. So how do we know to put an extra space? Well, if there are leftovers. So if the leftovers are greater than 0, which it is, it's 2, then write down formatted equals formatted plus another space. So here is another space. So now it's green and then 2 spaces. Leftovers minus minus. So I got to change the color. So now leftovers becomes 1. Okay. And this part is done because I plus plus becomes 1 here, and 1 cancels it, so it goes back to this part of the for loop, and it goes and grabs the next letter, or or it goes, or the next string at get W, and that's going to be our eggs. So then the next thing that it's going to attach is eggs. It's going to do the same exact thing. Remember, guys, for loops, it'll start again once it goes to the top, right? So it's going to do eggs, and after that, here it's going to come through here because this goes back to 1. That space, and then leftovers went from 2 to 1. So 1 is bigger than 0. Then let's give it another space. So that's great. And now leftovers minus minus becomes 0. So this is not going to work out anymore. You go back here. It jumps all the way back up because this guy here is gone. And you go to 2. Get W at 2 would be and. And what you'll notice is it will work obviously for this for loop because it restarts. And it's still 1, and it's just going to be 1 space this time because this leftover guy is ordered, he's done, okay? So we did leftovers minus minus. And then when you come back all the way up here, there's no more to go. So you're asking yourself, what about him? Well, at the very end of this for loop, they say take your string that you constructed and add the very last word. So wordlist.get wordlist.size minus 1. And then you get exactly green, space, space, eggs, space, and space, and then ham at the very end. And then you return that format. So you get this, and that's what you're returning. Okay? So I understand that this is not the easiest to think about. But one thing is that they told you is that, one thing that they told you here is that they gave you this, this guy here, and they said just use him, okay? So you had to sort of maneuver these numbers around. So I hope going through this explains it, okay? If you guys got it on your own, congratulations. I know this one is a very tricky problem. And if you didn't get it, I just hope that you understand this, okay? So take your time, look at it again, and good luck. You can leave a comment if you need any help, and I'll try to answer it.